Thanks for coming back to the bonus round. Here are the bonus slides I mentioned. In about 15 minutes, I'll show you little known facts about Washington, D.C. and its pagan Catholic origins. In part two, I showed you this slide pointing out the significant similarities between the U.S. Capitol and St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. One of the founding principles of this country, which I think most people can appreciate, is the Establishment Clause, limiting the power of the government, restricting them from establishing a religion or respecting an establishment of religion. That being said, I want to take this opportunity to show that those walls of separation were breached a long time ago, and it's evident in the U.S. Capitol building itself. Evidence the very heart of our legal system has been compromised. So a little bit about the architecture. Not only is this modeled after St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, but St. Peter's Basilica was modeled after the Pantheon of Rome. The Pantheon was dedicated to 12 pagan gods and the living sovereign. That was the living Roman ruler who was also deified. It was built by King Agrippa between 25 and 27 BC and is still intact today. It has been renamed and supposedly consecrated to Christianity and named the Basilica di Santa Maria ad Martyrs by the Catholic Church. All three share very similar features. As I said, the Pantheon of Rome is still in existence. Notice the dome on top, the triangle fascia with 8 pillars below, and the obelisk in front. And here is St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. The same features: dome, triangle fascia with 8 pillars, and an obelisk. And Washington, D.C. Capitol Dome, triangle fascia with 8 pillars, and the Washington Monument, which is an obelisk. Next is the name. It's called a capital. If we go to Webster's Dictionary 1828, we find the definition. A capital is first and foremost defined as the Temple of Jupiter in Rome. It was located on Capitoline Hill. The U.S. Capitol and surrounding area is called Capitol Hill. It goes on to say, in this, the Senate of Rome anciently assembled. So our U.S. Capitol, the heart of our government, where the senators and representatives meet to deliberate on laws, it was named after a pagan temple in Rome and modeled after the Pantheon, where the Roman Senate would meet to deliberate on laws. Oh, come on, Chris, it's not a pagan temple, it's just a popular architecture style of the time. Oh yeah? Well, what is this on top of the U.S. Capitol? It's this bronze statue. They named her Freedom, but her classical name is Persephone. Persephone is a pagan goddess. Most statues of Persephone in the Christianized Roman Empire were re-identified as the Virgin Mary in an attempt to blend paganism with Christianity. The Catholic Church continues this practice today. If this is a Christian nation, why is there a pagan goddess on top of the U.S. Capitol? Now let's go inside the Capitol building, where you look up at the dome from the inside. You see a famous painting. It's called the Apotheosis of Washington. Apotheosis meaning the deification of President Washington. The painting not only depicts President Washington being elevated to the status of a god, but in fact, the entire mural shows many different scenes of pagan gods giving technology to Americans. The painting was completed in 1865 by Constantino Brumudi, a Vatican-trained artist. Here, the pagan god Mercury, the god of commerce, is giving a bag of gold to Revolutionary War financier Robert Morris. Ceres is the pagan goddess of agriculture. She is the one holding the cornucopia and has the wheat headdress. She is riding on the McCormick Reaper, which is an early harvesting machine pulled by a horse. The young man wearing the red frigging cap is a personification of young America. He is being given the reins of the horse and control of the McCormick Reaper by the goddess Ceres. As a side note, the McCormick Reaper invention had a major impact on American industry, not just farming. The machine freed up laborers that were normally needed for farm work, now boosting the workforce needed for the Industrial Revolution, thus prospering America even more, placing her in the ranks of the most powerful country in the world. The last two I want to point out are significant to this study. This is Minerva, the pagan goddess of arts or technology. She is Athena of the Greeks, the goddess of a city-state, a trait both Vatican and Washington, D.C. share. Here, Minerva is giving Benjamin Franklin and Samuel Morse an electrical power generator and batteries to store the power. Electrical power will be supremely important to all future technologies. These men, Franklin, Morris, and others, are considered to be genius. But do you know what genius is? The root of the word is genie. Genius. Among the ancients, a good or evil spirit or demon, supposed to preside over a man's destiny in life, that is, to direct his birth and actions and be his guard and guide, a tutelary deity. Now, tutelary, having the guardianship or charge of protecting a person or a thing. Guardian, protecting as tutelary genii or tutelary goddesses. So, pagan gods, demons, are giving guidance to these great men of America. This leads me to another trait of Minerva. She is the sponsor of arts. You can consider this the sponsor of technology as well. Sponsor, a surety, one who binds himself to answer for another and is responsible for his default. Therefore, if the sponsor has a vested interest in their success, they will do much to ensure their success, offering funding, direction, counsel, resources. Benjamin Franklin is known for discovering electricity, and Samuel Morse is known for the telegraph and Morse code. Both these men were members of secret societies. So the pagan goddess Minerva, a demon, is depicted as one who is giving technology to these men, specifically in the field of electrical and communication. And finally, we see the pagan gods Neptune and Venus laying the transatlantic telegraph cable. Here is all the technology leading. The telegraph cable in this scene above relies on technology of electricity from the previous scene. It is the foundation for the telegraph and all modern communications like cell phones and the internet. In fact, with all the talk about satellites, underwater cables still handle over 90% of all communications in the world. If you're going to rule the world, you better plan ahead to have a good communication technology in place. Now, if you listen to the arguments by the Christian nationalists and their defense for breaking down this barrier between church and state, they say things like, it honors our nation's religious heritage. It represents our country's Christian values. Remember, the 10 commandments the Christian nationalists want to put in public schools, the very first commandment is, thou shall have no other gods before me. And yet the US government is busy spending enormous amounts of money painting pictures and building statues to honor pagan gods. The second of God's royal commandments is in the very next verse, Exodus 20, verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Mix all this with the Pope changing the day of worship from the seventh day to the first day, which is Sunday, And now Protestant Christian nationalists confirming that Sunday is the day they want enforced by law, it becomes clear the tradition of this country is definitely religious, but it is not Christian. It is a mix of popery and paganism. This is a map of Washington, D.C. Now, if what I was just sharing isn't enough, then I'll give you this last point. This land was given to the U.S. government for the location of the Capitol. It was given by a Catholic named Daniel Carroll. Daniel Carroll either purchased it or inherited it from the original owner who took control of the territory in the 1600s. The original owner, being Catholic and in love with Rome, named a small tributary to the Potomac River the Tiber. And he named the property itself Little Rome on the Tiber. But that's not all. This man's name was Francis Pope. So take the architecture, the terminology, the artwork, all combined with the name of the property donated to be the U.S. Capitol. You could see all the plans for America have been long planned out, bringing us to a place where we are now, at the precipice of a union of church and state, with religious laws ready to be made and enforced, just as we know the Roman Catholic Church has done in the past, at the height of her world power. But I don't want to leave you hopeless. Here's a very comforting psalm from the Old Testament. It's Psalm 119, 165. It reads, "Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them." Nothing that comes our way will separate us from God or cause us to fail in our pursuit of his righteousness if we continue steadfastly in the truth and if we love Jehovah, the lawgiver, and his law. Thank you for listening. God bless you in Jesus' name.